I, 30 found out my wife was sleeping with my boss, so I destroyed them both piece by piece. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and 6 months ago, I found out that my wife was sleeping with my boss. It didn't come to me in a dramatic moment, like something out of a movie. It came in silence. A subtle change. A gut feeling. The kind of realization that creeps up on you slowly, like watching cracks form in the walls of the house you built with your own hands. I had been married to Rachel for 6 years. She was the love of my life, or at least I thought she was. We met back in college. She studied English literature and always had her nose in a book. She quoted Sylvia Plath and Bukowski like it was gospel. I was a business major, grounded and numbers-driven, but I found her chaos beautiful. She used to read her short stories to me at night while I worked on spreadsheets, and I truly believed that someday she'd become a best-selling author. After graduation, I started working at a finance firm while she stayed home to focus on her writing. I paid the bills, supported her dreams, and told everyone I was lucky to have a woman with a mind so deep, so poetic. I was proud to carry the weight for both of us. My boss, Daniel, was the kind of man who radiated power. Mid-40s, always dressed in expensive suits, teeth too white, handshake too firm. He was sharp, charismatic, and knew how to manipulate a room. People admired him. I didn't. I tolerated him because I had to. He was the regional VP at our firm and had a reputation for pushing hard and stepping over people when necessary. He also had a wife, kids, and a reputation for being a little too friendly with women at the office, though nothing ever stuck. He used to call me kiddo and joke that I was his protege. I thought he was grooming me for the VP track. I was wrong. He was grooming my wife. The first red flag came when Rachel started going out more. She said she was meeting up with friends, joining a book club, trying yoga. I was proud at first. She'd always been a bit of a homebody. I thought she was breaking out of her shell. But then she started dressing up more, wearing perfume she hadn't worn in years, and carrying her phone everywhere, even to the bathroom. She laughed more at her texts than at anything I said in person. One night, I saw a message pop up on her screen while she was in the shower. It was from someone labeled DW with a heart emoji. I asked who it was. She said it was Danielle from yoga and smiled too hard when she said it. I wanted to believe her. I really did. The next red flag hit during the office Christmas party. Rachel came along, wearing a red dress that turned every head. When Daniel saw her, his eyes lingered just a little too long. And when he said hello, he didn't introduce himself like it was their first time meeting. He said, "Red looks good on you, Rachel." And she smiled. Not politely, intimately, like she was remembering something. I felt my stomach tighten, but I told myself I was being paranoid. A week later, I found a second phone charger hidden behind the drawer in her nightstand. I didn't confront her. I needed to be sure. So I installed a GPS tracker on her car. I know how that sounds, but when you're going crazy and the person you trust most in the world is lying to your face, you stop caring about how it looks. For 3 weeks, I watched her movements. And 3 times a week, right in the middle of the day, she drove to a boutique hotel in the city. I followed her once. Parked across the street. She got out of the car in a tight black dress, looking nervous and excited. She walked inside. 20 minutes later, Daniel walked in. I sat in my car for 2 hours, staring at the entrance. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't move. I just watched the rain slide down my windshield, listening to my own heartbeat, while the 2 people I trusted most betrayed me behind those walls. When she came home that night, she kissed my forehead and said she loved me. I said nothing. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed evidence. I needed control. I needed revenge. I cloned her phone. Every message, every photo, every late night, "I miss you," to Daniel, downloaded. I had access to everything. I spent nights reading their texts, watching them laugh at me. She said I was boring. He said I was a beta. She called him daddy. They planned weekends. They fantasized about what it would be like to finally be together, how to get rid of me, how she wished I would just cheat so she'd have an excuse to leave. She told him she was going to pretend to try to work on our marriage while waiting for him to leave his wife. She was planning my exit. The woman I supported through everything. The woman I loved without question. So I made a plan of my own. I printed everything, categorized it, built timelines, backed it up to 3 encrypted USB drives and 1 cloud account. I hired a private investigator to gather more data. I even got a few recordings of them together, hotel footage, audio, and a couple of screenshots from a shared Google Calendar they thought was private. Amateurs. Then I contacted Daniel's wife, Angela. I didn't tell Rachel. I didn't breathe a word. Angela was sharp, calm, and terrifyingly efficient. She suspected something, but never had proof. I sent her everything. We met for coffee. She didn't cry. She said, "Thank you. I'll handle it from here." Within a week, Daniel was served divorce papers. Angela froze their joint accounts and outed him to the board of directors. Turns out, Daniel had been fudging financial reports to inflate performance numbers on his team. I had the documentation, thanks to a few files he'd carelessly left open on a shared drive during our late nights at work. I packaged it all and sent it anonymously to the board and to the firm's internal legal counsel. By the time he realized what was happening, it was too late. He was fired, under investigation. His wife had filed for full custody. His accounts were frozen. His name was being quietly scrubbed from company records. Then it was Rachel's turn. I waited one more week. Then I left a printed folder on the kitchen table with a note that simply said, "You're not the only one who can plan." She opened it. Her face drained. She asked where I got it. I said, "I know everything. Every hotel. Every lie. Every insult. Every time you let him touch you in my house." She started to cry. Told me she was sorry. Told me it didn't mean anything. That she was lonely. That I worked too much. That she didn't know how to say she was unhappy. I told her, "You didn't just cheat. You plotted my removal. You thought I was so stupid that I'd keep paying for your life while you auditioned my replacement." She said it was a mistake. I said, "No, mistakes are accidents. This was deliberate." I had already filed for divorce. She was served at her yoga studio the next morning. She tried to claim emotional abuse to get alimony. My lawyer brought the receipts. She got nothing. No house. No car. No savings. No dogs. Just a suitcase, a destroyed reputation, and the look on her face when she realized the life she threw away was the only one that would have protected her from herself. Daniel tried to contact me. He said it was just sex. He begged me not to ruin his life. He called me son one last time, as if that word still held any weight. I emailed him back a single word, "Burn," and then I blocked him. It had been 6 months since the courtroom. 6 months since Rachel walked out of my life with nothing but a suitcase and the look of someone who finally realized their bluff had been called. 6 months since I buried the version of myself that believed love, loyalty, and sacrifice would ever be enough for someone who viewed relationships like a buffet line. I didn't expect to hear from her again, not after the way things ended. But they always come back, especially when they've run out of lifelines. It was a rainy Tuesday evening when her message showed up. I had just gotten back from a jog. The dogs were wet, the floor was muddy, and I was halfway through cleaning up when my phone buzzed. "Can we talk? I just want to talk. I miss you." I stared at the screen for a while, unsure whether to laugh or just throw the phone in the sink. The sheer audacity of her trying to open that door again felt surreal. She missed me, after mocking me, after filming herself in my bed with my boss, after trying to squeeze alimony out of a man she betrayed like a chess move. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. And I won't lie, part of me wanted to hear what she had to say. Not because I wanted her back. God, no. I had done the healing. I'd gone through every stage of grief. The denial, the rage, the numbness, the hours in therapy learning how to stop blaming myself for her cruelty. I didn't miss her, but I wanted to see if she had changed, or if she was still the same manipulative poet who knew how to twist emotions like knives. So I responded. Just one line. "Tomorrow, 8 p.m., the lake bench." The lake bench was our spot. Before she became a stranger in my bed, we used to sit there during the early days. Back when we were broke and idealistic. When she'd read me lines from her short stories, and I'd joke about making it big in finance. It was the one place that used to mean something. I wanted to see how she'd wear that history now that she'd burned it. I showed up early. The air was cold. The sky was bruised with clouds. I sat on the bench with the dogs at my feet, watching the ripples on the water, thinking about everything I'd rebuilt. When she arrived, I almost didn't recognize her. She looked thinner. Her hair was messy in a way that didn't look intentional. Her clothes were wrinkled, like she'd just pulled them from a donation bin. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. And the dogs didn't even acknowledge her. "Hey," she said softly. I nodded. "Talk." She sat down a few feet away. The space between us felt like a canyon. I wanted to say I'm sorry," she began. "For everything. I know it's too late, and I know I don't deserve anything from you, but I needed to say it." I didn't respond. She looked down at her hands. "I've lost everything. Daniel dumped me the second he got fired. I thought he was going to leave his wife for me. I thought we were building something real. He was never going to leave her," I said quietly. "He just wanted a toy." She nodded, ashamed. "I know. Now. And I know I can't take back what I did to you. But I can't stop thinking about you. About us. You were the only person who ever really saw me. Believed in me. I see that now. Now that you've got nothing," I said, not hiding the venom. She winced. "I know how it sounds. But I've changed. I've been working on myself. Therapy. Writing again. I've been clean for 6 months. Clean. From lies. From the games. From being that person who thought the world owed her something. I don't expect anything from you. I just wanted to say it." I let the silence stretch. The lake behind us was still. The air between us wasn't. "Let me ask you something. I said finally. If Daniel hadn't lost his job, if everything had gone the way you wanted, would you still be with him? Her lips parted. She blinked once, then twice, and her silence said more than any lie she could have told. No, she said finally. I wouldn't be here. There it was. The truth. The raw, unfiltered answer. I nodded. I appreciate the honesty, but don't mistake this for forgiveness. She looked like she wanted to say more, but I stood up. I leashed the dogs. I looked down at her one last time and said, "Good luck, Rachel. Whatever you're trying to become, do it far away from me." I walked away, but that wasn't the end. A week later, she messaged me again. This time, it was different. "Please. I know I don't deserve it, but I miss our life. I miss you. I still love you." I didn't respond. She kept texting. Every day, long apologies, short poems, voice notes crying about how empty her days felt, how she finally realized what real love looked like, and that I was the only one who ever gave it to her. I ignored her for 2 weeks. Then I responded, "Fine, let's talk." She latched onto that message like a drowning woman. Over the next few weeks, we talked. Casually, I let her think the door was open. I asked about her writing. I asked about her job. I listened when she cried about being lost, broke, alone. I nodded along when she told me she wanted to fix everything. She started texting like we were back together, sending heart emojis, asking what I was eating, telling me she saw a movie that reminded her of us. She posted a photo on Instagram of the lake bench with the caption, "Some places still hold hope." I watched her create this fantasy in her head that we were rebuilding, that I was letting her back in. I waited. Then I invited her over. I made her favorite dinner, set the table like old times, lit candles, played music she loved. She walked in, looking like she was about to cry from happiness. She said, "You have no idea how much this means to me." I handed her a glass of wine. She smiled, still the romantic. I smiled back and said, "Before we eat, there's something I want to show you." I handed her a letter. She opened it. Her smile faded. "What's this?" "A $10,000 donation I made to a domestic violence recovery center," I said. "In your name." Her face twisted. "What?" I figured it was fitting. "It's for women who want to leave manipulative relationships. Women who finally see their abusers for who they really are." Her lip trembled. "You think I'm abusive? I think you're toxic. And I think I'm done pretending otherwise." She stood up, shaking. "I thought we were reconnecting." "No, Rachel. You were reconnecting. I was just watching. I wanted to see how far you'd crawl when everything else in your life dried up. You didn't come back because you loved me. You came back because you needed someone to feed you again." "That's not true." "It is. And the saddest part is, you still can't see it." She tried to argue, tried to cry, but I walked her to the door and handed her the same suitcase she left with the first time. "Next time, don't mistake pity for love," I said. "Goodbye, Rachel." She didn't message again after that. 2 days later, I posted a picture of me and the woman I'd actually been seeing, Elena. No captions, just smiles and sunlight. It had been almost a year since the divorce. 10 months since Rachel tried crawling back into my life, and a little over 6 since I shut the door on her for good. Things had finally started to feel quiet. Elena and I were in a good place. She wasn't just someone I dated to feel better about myself. She was calm, thoughtful, nothing like Rachel. She didn't treat love like a performance. She didn't flinch when I told her the ugliest parts of my past. And when she laughed, it didn't sound like a weapon. It sounded like peace. I was working remotely now, managing my own consulting business after leaving the firm behind. I bought a new house, nothing flashy, but something mine. The dogs loved the big backyard, and I finally got the silence I'd earned. I thought the storm had passed. But the thing about narcissists is, they don't go away. They wait. They lie in tall grass, waiting for your guard to drop, waiting for the moment they think they can take back control. It started with Daniel. I hadn't heard from him since I shut him down during the fallout. His wife had destroyed him in court. His reputation was garbage in the financial industry. Last I heard, he was trying to rebuild a career consulting for startups. I didn't think about him. Not anymore. But then I started noticing weird activity. 2 of my clients, both newer tech companies, suddenly pulled back from contracts. One was vague. The other sent a formal notice ending the agreement with no explanation. At first, I chalked it up to budget issues. Until one night, I got an email from an anonymous account. No subject line, just a screenshot attached. It was a fake message thread designed to look like it was from me, mocking clients, bragging about overcharging, and even referencing confidential financials. It was a smear campaign. At the bottom of the email, a single line. "You took everything from me. I'm just returning the favor. Daniel." I couldn't believe it. The man was trying to sabotage my career now? After everything he did? After the affair, the betrayal, the lies, he still thought he had the upper hand? The next day, I did some digging. I used a friend in cybersecurity to trace the IP from the anonymous email. Confirmed. It was sent from a workspace in the same city Daniel now worked in. Then I called the companies that had dropped me. One of them reluctantly admitted they'd received concerning allegations about my ethics from a third-party consultant they were working with. That third party? Daniel. He was actively trying to ruin me. Quietly. Cowardly. I could have gone nuclear. I could have filed a lawsuit immediately and crushed him publicly. But I didn't want to just win. I wanted him to feel it. I hired a different kind of investigator this time. A deep-dive digital forensic analyst. Within a week, I had everything. IP logs, metadata from the fake documents, email headers, even phone records showing he'd been contacting clients under fake names. Then I made a call to Angela, Daniel's ex-wife. We hadn't spoken since the divorce, but she answered right away. When I told her what was happening, she didn't even hesitate. Send me the files, she said. I still have contacts at the DA's office. Let's end him. Turns out, Daniel had also falsified income reports during his divorce, violating court orders. She reopened the case. He was dragged back into court, hit with new charges, and hit again for contempt. He's now paying more in penalties than he earns. But I wasn't done. I sent the companies Daniel had poisoned a neat little package. A professional memo. Factual, concise. No dramatics. Just a clear breakdown of the falsified accusations against me, proof of the source, and legal documentation showing he was being investigated for fraud. Not only did both clients reinstate my contracts, they referred me to 3 new ones. One of them asked me directly if I wanted to take over Daniel's consulting contract. I declined. I wanted Daniel to know I didn't need to bury him in court. I already lived in his head, rent-free. And just when I thought it was over, Rachel came back. Again. She showed up at my house unannounced. Elena wasn't home, thank God. I was outside, playing with the dogs, and I looked up to see Rachel standing at the edge of the driveway. She looked worse than last time. Pale. Tired. Like life had sucked the sparkle right out of her. Mark, she said, hugging her coat like she was freezing. I didn't say anything. I know you hate me. I deserve that. But I need help. That got my attention. Not sympathy. Curiosity. She told me she was facing eviction. No job. No money. She'd burned every bridge, and no one would help her. She said she didn't want money, just a place to stay for a few nights. I nearly laughed. She stood there, on the same driveway where I used to carry groceries into the home we shared, begging for scraps. And not once did she say, "I'm sorry this time." Not once did she acknowledge that every decision she made led her here. "I've changed," she said. "I'm not that person anymore. I swear." And for a moment, I wondered if maybe she believed that. Maybe in her mind, she wasn't the villain. Just someone life had wronged. I stared at her and said, "You didn't change. You just ran out of people to use." She looked shocked. "You're not here because you miss me," I continued. "You're here because you thought I'd still be the man who once paid your bills, listened to your lies, and kissed you goodnight while you snuck off to someone else's hotel room." Tears filled her eyes. "Please, Mark." I stepped closer. Calm. Cold. Clear. "You told Daniel I was a loser. That I'd never see it coming. That I was too weak to fight back. But I did. And I won. You don't get to crawl back from that." I turned and walked toward the house. She didn't follow. I closed the door, locked it, and watched her from the window as she stood there for another minute, then finally walked away. Elena came home later. She asked who it was. I told her honestly, and she said, "You okay?" I smiled. "Yeah, I'm okay," because I was. This time, there was no anger, no trembling hands, no heartache, just clarity. I wasn't her victim anymore. I wasn't Daniel's pawn anymore. I was finally, completely free. And no one gets to take that from me again.